Hello everybody, thanks for tuning into today's video where we're going to have a look at the seasonal models for today's video, and we're going to have a look at the winter of 2012-2013 with those seasonal models. So this is the first seasonal model forecast from GavsWeatherVids.com. We'll be doing a video this month, then I'll be doing another one next month, and a final one in November. We're going to use these seasonal models to see what the models are predicting in terms of the weather for the British Isles in winter of 2012-2013. Now this is running as well as the other roundup videos that I'm doing where I'm looking at things like sea surface temperatures and snow cover across Siberia. This is as well as those videos, and then at the end of the day, when we get to the end of November, we're going to bring it all together. We're going to bring the seasonal models together, and we're going to bring all the other things that I look at together, and we're going to attempt to come up with a possible forecast for the winter of 2012-2013. Now I should say before I go on, these seasonal models are highly experimental, so please do not take anything you see in these models too seriously. They're experimental. It's basically for fun, although I think it is useful to have a look at these models on a monthly basis just to see where they are trending, because it is possible at times to pick out the trends from those seasonal forecasting models. Now, before I go on video, I want to explain a couple of things. I want to say that everything you see on this video can be found on my links page. All the websites that I'm using to bring this video together can be found on my links page. Also want to mention the advertising. There'll usually be a video ad overlaying my web videos at GavsWeatherVids.com. Do please play those video ads, because you will be supporting GavsWeatherVids.com by doing that. So I'm just going to get rid of the camera and we'll get on with the video. So what we're looking at first of all is the seasonal model from the UK Met Office. Now I made a bit of a mistake in a video the other month. I said that the Met Office hasn't got seasonal models, that they're not making those seasonal models public. That's not quite right, because this is the ensemble mean from the Met Office seasonal model, so there it is in all its glory. This is the ensemble mean from the seasonal model from the September update, and this is sea surface sea level pressure. So this is basically the air pressure down on the surface on the ground, and this is the period for October, November, December. And what we're looking at here is a big area of high pressure being predicted, above average pressure centred around Iceland, and below average pressure centred to the south of the British Isles through the Atlantic and into central and southern parts of Europe. So this is a very classic negative NAO being forecast for the early winter period, late autumn, early winter period, with that high pressure blocking up to the north and the low pressure down to the south. So let's have a run on them and move through the next period, which is December, November, December, January. And now we're seeing that the blocking high is centred out to the west of the country, but it is still there. It is still blocking up to the northwest and the west of the British Isles. Low pressure centred to the east. So again, this is quite a cold looking chart. We've got low pressure to the east, high pressure to the west. So again, if this is right, this anomaly, it will be cold. Now this is an anomaly over 3 months, remember, so this is for November, December, January, and it doesn't preclude that at times the pattern will break away from this. So this isn't what the pattern will be for the entire 3-monthly period. It's an anomaly from the 3 months of November, December and January. Then as we go through to the next period, this is actually for the winter period, December, January, February. This is winter 2012-2013. And again, the anomaly is very much for high pressure to be to the west, above average pressure there, centred to the west of the British Isles. It is coming down a little bit from the north, so perhaps the northern blocking lessening off in the latter stages of the winter, maybe, if this is right, but still, really, this is quite an extensive block high. And bear in mind, this is an ensemble mean for December, January, and February. So you perhaps should expect the signal to become less. In any case, February is quite a long time off. But yes, the signal here is for high pressure out to the west of the country. Now, if we go back to the 2 to 4 monthly period and we have a look at the temperatures, let's have a look at the temperatures here. We can see that the signal is very much for cool or cold temperatures here across many parts of Europe. The green colours here, below average temperatures, that's hinting towards the blue colours here, so the early part of the winter likely to be colder than average, not just for British Isles but for much of Europe as well. Now going further on to the 3 to 5 monthly period, it's a very similar story. Temperatures below average for greens and the blues here, pale blues at least, around the British Isles and around much of Europe as well. It's hardly surprising because we've got that blocking area of high pressure out to the west and to the northwest, feeding down a trough and northerly winds probably across many parts of Europe. But if this is right, we are looking at a cold early part to the winter, a cold and average early part of winter. And that colder than average weather is still there actually as we go through in towards December, January, February, despite the fact that for that period the blocking high actually slips a little bit down in towards the Atlantic by the look of it. Nevertheless, we're still seeing below average temperatures here around British Isles, Scandinavia as well, below average, much of Europe below average. This does look like a very cold looking at ensemble mean in terms of pressure and temperature from the UK Met Office. So their model definitely, I think Met Office model definitely for September has been hinting at some pretty cold weather coming up this winter. Now the next thing I want to look at is the Jamstec IOD model. This is the temperature forecast from the Jamstec IOD model for the winter of 2012-2013. So again, this is for December to February. And we're seeing that for much of Europe, we're actually predicted here to have a warmer than average winter. The pink colours, the salmon colours are indicating above average temperatures, but out to the west those temperatures are much nearer to the average, actually a little bit below average for Scotland, Ireland and parts of Spain and Portugal as well. France, well, western France generally a little bit nearer to the normal, eastern France above average, and for much of England temperatures around the seasonal average. The colours are very pale. It's cold also over Iceland, so this for the British Isles is going for a near average winter, maybe favoured to slightly warmer than average in the south, slightly colder than average than in the northwest, but we are only talking tenths of degrees here. It's really an average signal, I think, from Jamstec this month for the British Isles. And in terms of the precipitation, we've got a wetter than average winter being forecast here across the British Isles. Yes, the blue colours indicating that it will be, if this forecast is correct, a wetter than average winter, and that's true for many central parts of Europe and up in towards Scandinavia as well. Not much sign of Scandinavian blocking here, but this is quite interesting. These pink colours here around Iceland, and we can't see it, but stretching to the south of Greenland, those pink colours are below average precipitation. That's below average precipitation up there around Iceland. So if that's right, that's probably implying some sort of high pressure developing up to the north. And this low pressure, if it was a classic sort of unsettled zonal winter pattern, you would expect the low pressure to be centred over Iceland, so Iceland would be very wet probably. I think the low pressure is centred further south probably on Jamstec than you would expect in a classic zonal winter. So this does imply that we could be seeing some sort of blocking high pressure somewhere around Iceland or to the south of Greenland, and that's pushing the low pressure on a more southerly track. That's given us a wet winter, but it also explains why, despite having a wet winter, the temperatures for Britain and Ireland are actually close to, or in some cases a little bit below average. It's because the low pressure is on a more southerly track, because we've got high pressure to the north. So not a classic zonal winter by any means being forecast by the Jamstec IOD model. The next model we're going to look at is the Beijing model, the model from the Beijing Climate Centre. What I've got here is 500 millibar height anomaly. You know about 500 millibar heights because I do in my everyday videos. Their temperatures at 18,000 feet, and what we're looking at here is a big area of below average heights being forecast around British Isles. So if this is correct, this is a very unsettled looking winter pattern. This is for, as I say, December to February, so this is the 500 millibar height anomaly for the winter. And yes, we've got below average heights here across the British Isles. Low pressure, trough of low pressure sitting across the British Isles. I've got quite a bit of northern blocking going on up here though, to the north of Greenland, and we've got a fair amount of blocking here around Newfoundland as well, stretching out in towards the central and western part of the Atlantic. Now, that's just throwing off a little bit of a ridge towards Iberia, but we've also got low pressure underneath that. This is quite a complicated 500 millibar pattern actually, but it isn't far off from being quite a negative NAO this, and it wouldn't take much of an adjustment for this to end up quite a cold signal, quite a cold pattern for the British Isles and for much of Europe. But as it stands from the model, it's actually in this month forecasting a warmer than average winter, above average temperatures for Britain. There is Britain just there. It's forecasting above average temperatures this winter, and that's true for much of Europe as well. For precipitation, it's actually going for quite a wet winter, hardly surprising really, because we've got that trough sitting over British Isles, so above average precipitation being forecast here for Britain, and there's Central Europe as well, above average precipitation. Also notice it's drier though to the north, so that's because we've got some sort of blocking up to the north, and it's dry also in the central part of the Atlantic. That again is because we've got that area of above average height stretching down into the central and western part of the Atlantic. So again, not a classic zonal sort of signal from the Beijing Climate Centre. It's enough to have us have it forecasting a mild winter for us, but it wouldn't take much of an adjustment. Just go back to this. It wouldn't take much of an adjustment from this to actually be quite a cold winter signal. So it'll be interesting to see where the Beijing Climate Centre goes next month. The next thing I want to look at is the CFS model. This is CFS version 1. It will apparently be discontinued in October. We'll have to wait and see. They said they were going to discontinue it in June. They didn't. So we'll see whether they do it in October. This is the 700 millibar height anomaly from CFS version 1 for December, and we've got above average heights here across Scandinavia. This is a blocking feature across Scandinavia. Here's Britain just here. It's very hard to make out, but that is Britain just there. The blocking feature is to the east, so that's quite a cold signal for December in actual fact, with that blocking area of high pressure over Scandinavia. The blocking area of high pressure is gone for January, and we're under some sort of a trough here across the British Isles. So if that's right, January is a milder, wetter sort of month most probably. And then for February, the blocking feature comes back. Yes, the yellow-orange colours have returned to Scandinavia for February, and that's stretching then back into Western Russia as well. That's Western Russia just there, so that's a really big area of blocking across much of Scandinavia into Russia. A very strong high pressure blocking there, so that would be a very cold month, February, if that's right. So the CFS version 1 probably going for a cold December, a milder, wetter January, and then a very cold potentially February. So that's CFS version 1. The next thing we're going to look at is CFS version 2, and what we're going to look at here is the again 700 millibar height anomaly charts broken down into monthly periods. This is the chart for December. We've got below average heights here out in the Atlantic stretching into the British Isles. That's a wet sort of pattern. The NAO is not strongly positive though. The high pressure to the south around the Azores is quite weak. It is there, but it's quite weak. So this will probably allow some cold weather at times, but more than anything, this is a very wet signal, I think, with this below average, this trough of below average heights here in the Atlantic. Going through 12 months, a month, into January, and again we've got below average heights here centered around British Isles, but this time the below average heights is pushing eastwards, so now it's encompassing much of Europe as well, Central Europe, Scandinavia, under those below average heights. We've got some sort of a blocking feature over here, so this could potentially be a slightly colder, wetter pattern for January, or rather it's still a wet pattern, but it's probably a colder pattern as well than the December pattern. If this is right, you would expect quite a few Arctic incursions, I think, if this height anomaly chart is correct. Finally, having a look at the height anomaly for February, And again, we've got below average heights here around the British Isles. This time they've gone back westwards again, most of it out in the Atlantic. And we're building some above average heights here to the south. So if this is correct, this is probably a milder signal, but still wetter. It's still a wet signal from CFS version 2 for February. But with this high pressure building down to the south, a stronger Azores influence above average heights down there, I think we're probably looking at a milder month for February. So it's a mixed picture from the models this month. The Met Office is definitely signalling some pretty cold weather for the coming winter, particularly probably early in the winter, less so for later in the winter. As we get through toward the Jamstec model, that's going for an average winter, but not a classic zonal signal. It's average temperatures and wetter than average also, but it's not a classic zonal signal by any means, because we've got some blocking up around Iceland, below average rainfall predicted up there. Beijing Climate Centre, well, that's very close to a negative NAO. It's very close to a cold winter for us, but it's actually going for a milder, wetter sort of winter pattern. But it wouldn't take much of an adjustment from the height anomalies to turn that cold. And for CFS, well, it's a mixed picture. CFS version 1 really is going for quite a cold winter. I think with December and February in particular looking very cold. For CFS version 2, it's more of a mixed picture, but the signal there is a very wet winter. All months have a trough of low pressure somewhere around British Isles. Position changes month by month, but throughout we've got that trough of low pressure. So that's why it's a very wet winter coming up, and possibly quite cold in January, but perhaps not as cold in the other 2 months. Now, we can't look at the Russian model, we can't look at the ECMWF because they are only going out for September, October, November at the moment. But we'll have a look at those next month. We'll start to include those in the videos next month, so there are more models to go at in next month's update. So a mixed picture, but certainly nothing to indicate a particularly mild winter at this stage. That's it for now. Thanks for watching.